So I want to talk about this because I've been saying it for months, but I've been called crazy. And thankfully, like if there's anybody that knows on YouTube how to make a point and have stuff to back it up and some cool graphics that people understand, it's Jimmy High Rollers. It is Jimmy High Roller. Thank the Lord that I made the video to say what we've been saying for months. And I still don't even think he was quite far enough in what he was saying. And by the way, though, if you guys are interested, we have got the WNBA type hoodies right here. I finally got my one in on the old Mick Talks Hoops merch. It's cheap, like we got $29.99. We're not like, I'm not charging much for these. And then if you are interested in some Fever merch, link will be in the description. If you're interested in some Fever merch, we have our Christy Dog Wallace t-shirts. We have got some hoodies, and then of course for us Indiana fans, we have got the Who Needs Defense t-shirt. The Who Needs Defense t-shirt. Some Temmie Time t-shirts. Reality is here. The Point God. We've got this type of stuff. But anyway, yeah, that was what we have for now. But anyway, now let's talk about it. So, we have seen this from Jimmy High Roller. Caitlin Clark generates 45.2% of all points produced, which is, out of all players, NBA or WNBA, it's only behind Luka Doncic, who nearly averaged a 35-point triple-double last year. Yeah. She is 6 ahead of Arike, who is second. Or is Arike second? Sure, I wonder where A'ja Wilson is, because surely A'ja Wilson, like, she scored herself 26.9. Like, she didn't have 0.0 assists per game. It'd be interesting to see where A'ja is. Would she be ahead of Arike or not? I don't think she would be, because she, in her defense, like, in fairness, she's a black hole. But, like, we're looking at this. And not only that, if you did not see, out of, like, the top 200 most productive offensive seasons, you're looking at, like, a lot of the best players of all time right here in these offensive seasons with their, like, points generated. I don't know what exactly. I'm guessing this is what season it was in. I don't know what the x-axis is. But you're seeing it. You go up and up. You get some of the greatest players of all time. And then you see Caitlin Clark here. See, her offensive season is that much of an outlier. And the funniest part is that is just using counting stats. And people don't understand. Her impact on the pace is more important than counting stats. That's one of the things that people don't understand. And that's one of the things that Christy Sides really effed up in the playoffs. Is that she was like, we're going to start to run Caitlin off the ball. We're going to, like, slow the tempo down and get Caitlin coming off screens. But the reality is the only reason they were even in... Like, if you watch the games, when Indiana controlled the pace against Connecticut, they were 25 points better than Connecticut. When Indiana slowed down, they were 40 points. They were 40 points worse. Over the two games, I would say they were 40 points worse over those when they slowed it down. Like, they went up big to start the game. There was a stage where Caitlin Clark scored or assisted on 19 of the team's first 20 points. And by the way, she scored or assisted on 13 points in a row to start the game after, like, 5 minutes? And then by the time the team got to... It was another 10 minutes before the team had a score that wasn't scored or assisted by Caitlin Clark. But yet, in that spell, they took the ball out of her hands. Like, Christy Sides royally effed up game 2. Like, I think in game 1, they went out bad tactically. I think Christy Sides lost game 2. And it is like, if you're watching these games, the Indiana Fever are not a good offensive team. They have 2.5 good offensive players. Like, Caitlin Clark is the best offensive player in the W. Kelsey Mitchell is a good... I'll say 2 good offense, because Kelsey Mitchell is either the most devastating player or a detriment to your team's offense. When she goes full Arike, when she does her Monte Ellis, when she becomes Monte Ellis, when she does her Julian Newman impression, she's not an effective offensive player. But at the same time, when she does her Klay Thompson impression, she's one of the most dominant, or the best. She's the best two-guard in the league. Aaliyah Boston is a better passer than anything, but when she gets the ball back to the basket and starts slowing things down, the team just doesn't score. When she faces up, makes decisions, is used as a passer as much as anything, she's good. Obviously, is becoming a very good roller. And Alyssa Smith has become just non-existent on either end of the floor. Temi Fagbenle, Like the fact Tammy Fagbenle, who's as much of a detriment on offense she is still so effective with this team, just shows how much running with Caitlin Clark can be a factor. But teams can't live with the pace. And that's all, like Sue Bird, everyone was talking about it. And they were like, the only reason the Fever are dangerous because of their pace. But the problem is that a lot of people look at the offense and they're like, oh, Caitlin Clark kind of struggled in the playoffs. Like, yeah, well, her team decided to slow down. Her coach decided to slow down the pace. Like when this team was playing at pace, they are unguardable. And I genuinely mean that. They are unguardable. Like even if there's scores going in, when they inbound quick and run, they are actually unguardable. And I get it, you can't do that for 40 minutes, but you can do it for a lot longer than the 10 minutes that Chrissy Sides likes to do. If you watch them play, it's so funny. People genuinely were saying that Kelsey Mitchell was so good because she was so great in isolation situations and pick and rolls. And I'm like, man, all she did was cut. Like when Kelsey Mitchell was averaging 30 a game, she was spotting up and cutting. Like when the team was winning, it was Kelsey Mitchell spotting up and cutting. Like people aren't even watching the games, just making up stuff. Like the Indiana Fever's offense was Caitlin Clark. And I mean that. Like Kelsey Mitchell finished plays. And I'll give Aaliyah Boston some credit as well. It was, their offense was, Caitlin make a decision out of the pick and roll. If nothing was on, Aaliyah Boston, you go to the basket. And if it's not, basically, Caitlin, you go to try to score off the pick and roll. If nothing's on, you give it to Aaliyah. Aaliyah, you try to score off the roll. If nothing's on, you give it to Kelsey. Kelsey, because it's on a reversal, has one dribble to go to the basket, or she'll back cut off a dribble towards her. Yeah, that was their offense. That realistically was their offense, and it was the best offense in the W, including the Minnesota Lynx. The Indiana Fever had the Indiana Fever had a better offense than the Aces without the talent of the Aces. Like Kelsey Mitchell and Kelsey Plum, I think Kelsey Plum's a better player. Not by much, but I think she's the better player. Jackie Young is 100 times better than Lexi Hull, especially on offense. And just, I'm trying to think the rest of the players. Like Alicia Clark is better. I'll say Chelsea Gray is a better offensive player than I know they don't match up, but like I'm just saying like first, second, third. Like let's say the third best offensive player, Jackie Young versus Aaliyah Boston. Give me Jackie Young. Then it's Nalissa Smith versus Chelsea Gray. Give me Chelsea Gray. Lexi Hull versus Alicia Clark. Equal on offense. So you've got a team where it's like they were a better offensive team than the Aces. But in every single other matchup, as in for best offense, second best, third, fourth, fifth, the Aces beat the Fever. But yet, or at least they're even. But yet the one common denominator is Caitlin Clark is a better offensive player than AJ Wilson. And look, I get it, but AJ scores more points. But we can't go, like, we have had 20 years of the NBA. There's not one person that will tell you Nikola Jokic is not, or not one person that isn't a Sixers fan that will tell you that Joel Embiid is a better offensive player than Nikola Jokic. But Joel Embiid scores more points, and he always will score more points. There's nobody that will say that, I don't know, Trae Young. You know what? Trae Young, people will probably argue Trae Young than people that score less. But, like, that's the thing. Is by the counting stats, she had the greatest offensive season of all time this year. Even by the counting stats. And the funniest part about this is that the counting stats don't even nearly tell the full story about how good she is on offense. Is she as good as Aja Wilson? Probably. Possibly. Probably not. Possibly, though. I think Fee Collier is better than the both of them. But she's a traffic cone on defense. All teams have to do is run a flex cut and they got a layup or a 3-point shot on Caitlin Clark. Let's be real. All teams have figured that out. All they have to do is just run constant. Is they literally, like the way the Sun played is how you can beat the Fever. Just have a point guard dribble the ball at the top of the 3-point line and then just run a flex cut. If they're being guarded, just spot up just post up, then run the same cut in the opposite way. Someone's going to be open eventually off an off the ball cut. Off just literally a curl cut, or whether it's a flex cut or you go into the corner for a curl, you're going to be open every single time. That's literally, you don't need any sort of crazy offensive scheme to beat the Fever. Just literally just start running off the ball cuts and someone's going to get a layup every time. But that's the only reason for me why I don't have Caitlin Clark as the number one player is she is the worst off ball defender I've ever seen. And that, like, she's a mediocre on the ball defender, the worst off ball defender I've ever seen. But she is by a significant amount the best offensive player in the W. And there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. There's no one that can control the game like she can. And she controls every single aspect of the game on the offensive end. The problem is that the team's just awful on defense. I think she can be a decent team defender, but you can see with this Fever team, the amount of... And Temmie's a good defender, Aaliyah Boston's a good defender, Lexi Hull's a good defender, but the amount of times like they will give up open layups because of lack of communication. Obviously, the last play, the Marina Mabry 3, was a lack of communication between Kelsey Mitchell and Caitlin Clark, but the team doesn't have an identity. They don't know what to do in what scenarios, and they give up 15 to 20 points a game off just brain like lapses in concentration where two people go to the ball. The team doesn't talk in defense. The team doesn't know when to switch, when they're going to go through. They don't have a philosophy, and that's on Christie's sides. But on the offensive end, the only reason I think the Fever went the best offensive team probably in WNBA history was because of Christie's sides. And look, once you can get like a Mike D'Antoni protege in, or at least someone with that mentality, they're going to be a real good team by just outgunning teams. And eventually when you bring in someone that can fix, they don't even need defense. And I mean that. This league is not good enough that you can win by just offense. There are no teams. This isn't the NBA. There are no teams that are simultaneously elite stoppers, and like there's no team equipped to stop the way the Fever can play at their best. There's not. Like the Fever can honestly just say screw defense. We're refusing to play it, and they're going to outscore. They're going to win 25 games by outscoring teams next year. But hopefully their defense can't get any worse. But the focus for them needs to be all on offense, because no matter, even if you put no focus in defense, you can't be any worse than they play defense this year. But if you go all out offense and go all through her, and not only through her, you groom the backup for her to play like her. Like you can groom a Grace Berger into being like, not Caitlin Clark good, but playing that style of play where it's literally just spend the whole summer with Grace. Not even the whole summer, the whole, she's playing overseas. Find somebody who's not playing overseas and just spend the whole offseason just working on long outlet passes. Anyway, that's the video. Thank you guys for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe.